We are right outside the New York State Museum where we are about to talk with PEF members who are working on a special project for the museum, a boat, but not just any boat, a boat found underneath the World Trade Center.
My name is Mike Lucas. I am the curator of historical archaeology at the New York State Museum. So behind us you see the reconstruction or partial reconstruction of a ship that was found when they were doing construction by the World Trade Center, about a block from the World Trade Center site in 2010. As part of that excavation, they were excavating for a vehicle security center building, and when they went down to dig the foundation, they found this ship about 22 feet underneath the streets of Manhattan. So when they got down to where the ship was, they saw, okay, there's something here, and the archaeologists stopped the work, and then they were given about 2 weeks to develop a plan, research design, and a overall plan of how they were going to remove this thing. And then they got it was about a week to actually remove all the planks. There's about 1,200 pieces from the ship. And so they took these pieces out, and they were sent down to Maryland, a conservation lab down there to wash them off. And then in 2011, they were sent to Texas A&M and their conservation lab down there, where they were until early May when they came to the museum. So as a curator of historical archaeology, I oversee that archaeology collection, which is about 4.5 million artifacts. And this is one of them. So if you look at the ship as an artifact, it's a very big artifact, but it's part of that collection that I oversee. So I liaison with the people from Texas A&M to make sure that the work's being done correctly. These things take a team effort. So I'm just a curator of historical archaeology, but we also have production staff that have helped. They have different skills. They have skills in mounting artifacts, which basically what this is, and I don't have that skill. So I get to work with them, and I learn things from them. And then also people from the archives and the library. You get to interact with people you don't get to interact with every day.
My name is Cher Schneider, and I am an Archives Conservation Specialist 3, which equates to Head of Conservation in OCE currently. My specialty is actually in paper conservation, but I have learned a lot about object conservation and a lot of the information that crosses over in the preservation of materials, and preventative conservation really falls kind of in that overarching responsibility.
My name is Barbara Lilly. I am a library development specialist 2, and I'm a parenthetic, which is conservation/preservation. So it's a very unique title in the state. I think I'm the only one who holds it. So I was a volunteer. They put out a call for volunteers, and because I'm a preservation librarian, I have an interest in history usually. And part of my role has been when we give grants to institutions, I do site visits. So I see a lot of objects as well when I visit, but we only fund library research materials. So it's kind of fun to go. And I have gone on a couple digs with one of our archaeologists. So I've kind of said, oh, this looks like a really interesting project. And it was really, I met the staff from Texas A&M. I did not know there was an underwater archaeology program with like sort of boat conservators. So that was a whole new sort of profession that I didn't really know anything about. So they had several students working from the program and got to ask them a lot of questions.
My name is John Diefendorfer, and I'm the program officer for the Documentary Heritage Program at the New York State Archives. It's a program that provides grant funding and support services to all the non-government historic records repositories in New York State. I was working here as a volunteer. There was an email sent around that the boat had arrived and they needed volunteer help, and I said, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Chances are I'm never going to see a Revolutionary War gunboat again, so I figured I'd volunteer, and my supervisor said, absolutely, go for it. And so I came down and signed up. I'm not used to working with physical objects. We deal in the archives, we deal with archival records, which are mostly paper. So dealing with 200-year-old wooden planks was a whole new adventure for me. But an interesting and rewarding one in that you learned a lot about, sort of object conservation that I don't usually get exposed to.
Really the tail end of it. Working with all the colleagues has been great. I've even reached out into my community of my friends and colleagues, at the Mariners Museum and things like that to help us to best conserve and preserve this object. So it's been, I think, a really edifying, situation, not only for our staff, our interns, our volunteers, but also for the public, which has been great.